Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hounds. My name is Joe, and I'm sitting here at my desk looking at a very good-looking man named Dan. Dan, tell the world hello.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hounds podcast.
And you're listening to the #1 firewood podcast in the world.
Oh my gosh, it's great. It is great, and it's #1 because of all of you out there listening. We greatly appreciate everybody tuning in each week, finding us on your favorite podcasting platforms, and just giving us a listen.
Yeah. So I was talking with Dan, and he was telling me he did some research about podcasts and where the Woodhounds ranks in the podcast universe. Dan, do you want to maybe share some of those statistics with us?
Yes, it was kind of surprising when I started looking into just percentage of downloads and, comparing the podcasts out there to what our numbers are at. And believe it or not, Joe, the Woodhounds podcast, we are in the top 10% of all podcasts in the world when it comes to downloads.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
I'm just blown away. So Dan had told me that statistic, and I was thinking, you misread something there, man. And I started looking around, and I'll be darned.
Yeah.
So I think there's a number of things at work. Okay. So #1, there's a lot of people out there listening to us, and not just, here in our home country, the United States, but I mean worldwide. So there's a lot of people out there that are listening to us. But I think it also means that maybe we are, the podcasts aren't new, but it's not the most established social media platform. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat are well ahead of it. So, that means that there's a lot of podcasts out there, but they don't get a lot of downloads. And what do you know? The Woodhounds, and we're in our second month, our numbers are just amazing.
They are way above expectations. So that is great. And I think that what that means is those of you listening are enjoying it and you're coming back and tuning in again. So
yeah. And I think that the numbers are pretty strong to where I think we might we're starting to expand, because it seems like a lot of our listeners come from our YouTube existence.
Yes,
but maybe now, because the growth is still continuing, that we're outpacing that, and we're starting to attract people outside of the fact that we got our start in YouTube.
Wait a minute. Are you saying it's possible there's people out there who haven't heard of us from YouTube? I think you're right. I think that the reach is expanding, and I think we may also start seeing now where we find people out there who may come to YouTube to see what our YouTube channels are about. I think it's starting to work both ways.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yes.
Yeah. I've just been having a blast, Dan. I find you very fun to work with. You're very, the way you are on your YouTube channel is the way that you're like the person I've gotten to know,
Yes.
And it's just been fun. I enjoy sitting down here. I mean, it's probably inconvenient that you have to fly
down to Ohio.
Down to the Mahoning Valley to sit here at Woodhound Studio to talk to me, because I'm just not going to go up there to see you.
But I do enjoy it. I do enjoy coming down and seeing you, Joe. It's always great hanging out with you, and it's always great to hear from you, just like it's great hearing from some of our listeners.
Yeah. And we're starting to get emails. Is that right?
That is correct. And I was going to maybe read a couple of them right now.
Okay. Well, maybe we can name this a new segment of our show, and we'll call this Listener Mail.
Yeah. So are you ready?
Well, can we add a sound effect to it?
Maybe.
So,
I'll
okay.
find
So,
some.
all right. So here we go. I'll say, Dan, let's do our segment called Listener Mail.
And the sound effect would have been right there. So if you heard it, we found one. I like this. I like doing this with getting the listeners to tune in to some of this stuff going on here. But all right, let me find my email and I will read. The first one we received was from Doug. And Doug said, "Great show. Keep it going. I have the same enjoyment from all aspects of firewood that you guys do and enjoy listening to the shows while I'm driving." So, Doug, thanks for sending in the email. Appreciate hearing from you. And the other email that I'm going to read here was from Eric. And he says he's been listening to the podcast for a while from Bellingham, Washington. He's considering buying an outdoor wood boiler to heat his 4,000 square foot home.
Wow.
So he is wondering if we might be able to give him some insights, some pointers, our take on outdoor wood boilers. Like from our perspective, because we both have them. We both have an outdoor wood boiler.
That's another thing that you and me have in common.
Yes.
Thanks, Eric, for that email. And we were going to discuss another topic today, but maybe let's just talk about this, Dan. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great topic. And like you said, we both have a wood boiler, so we have another thing in common. And I know a lot of people out there listening probably also have wood boilers, and maybe there's more people like Eric on the fence, kind of thinking about them, looking into it. Who knows?
So, Dan, an outdoor wood furnace I find to be a fascinating machine. I just think what a interesting invention, and that they actually work.
Yes.
And I think the best way to understand what an outdoor wood furnace is to think about your heater in your car or your truck, where the water is heated up to where it's hot. It's pumped through a heat exchanger, or what in a car you would call a heater core. And like in my house, the forced air furnace, we use the blower motor from it to blow air through the heat exchanger. But other places, you can have radiant floor heat or individual radiators in each room,
Yep.
which provides the heat. So my outdoor wood furnace, and well, they're all the same. All it is a big tank of water. Mine is about 150 gallons of water. Some are more, some are less. And you use the firebox to heat the water. It doesn't boil the water. And I think that's misleading to call it an outdoor wood boiler. At least mine is a non-pressurized
Yep.
boiler,
Yep.
So it heats the water to about 170 degrees and it just sits out there. When my house needs heat, the thermostat kicks on the water pump outside on my outdoor wood boiler, and it pumps water underground through these heater hoses about the size of your heater hoses on your car or your truck, and through a heat exchanger. And the blower in the house from the forced air furnace blows through the heat exchanger. So it uses the existing duct work. There's really nothing in my house that says that we have anything going on other than we got an extra
Right.
thermostat on the wall. That's
Yep.
it. And then the water just circulates. The cold water goes back into the furnace outside and it gets heated up again. Mine also heats our domestic hot water. Does yours do that?
Yes. Mine does the same. And the only difference is that mine has a pump that continuously cycles the water. So the water is always moving.
Oh, wow.
And the water is what transfers the heat from outside into your house. That's always a thing that people, I think, sometimes don't understand, is how the heat from your fire outside gets into your house.
Right.
And it's carried by water.
Water, yeah. So outside, while all this is going on, there is an aquastat. And when the temperature of the water drops to, at least in mine, is 150 degrees, it kicks on the blower, which blows air into the firebox, and it reignites the fire. So the fire isn't burning all the time. The fire will sit and smolder if the water temperature is up, and it sits like that until the water temperature drops to around 150 degrees, and then it kicks it on until the water temperature goes back up again.
Yep.
And that's how they work. And you can heat them. Your fuel can be wood or coal. And out here, garbage. Some people I know out here,
Oh.
burn their garbage. I have heard people put shingles in
Oh
their
my goodness.
asphalt tires. Yeah, so um, I know when you get desperate in the springtime and you have no wood, you're thinking, well, this dining
All
room
the
table
furniture
here,
in
do
your
we need
house
this?
is gone.
Yeah, we don't need this chair, do we? So yeah,
But
but
yeah,
that's how they work.
it's one of those instances where fire and water actually do mix. Ooh,
Ooh,
look at
that's deep.
that.
Yeah, that's deep. That's how I got my start in firewood, was because of the outdoor wood furnace. Well, I call it an outdoor wood furnace, outdoor boiler.
Boiler, yeah.
That's where the that's where the title Ohio wood burner came from, because the industry and these furnaces are called OWBs, outdoor wood boilers. So I just changed it to Ohio wood burner. Pretty. Yeah. So, but that's how I got my start. We bought a house. We bought it off the bank, and we didn't realize it. This is out in farmland out here, and it's not on the gas line. And we had to go to propane, which was pricey back in the early 2000s. So just looking around out here in the farmlands, a lot of people have these outdoor wood boilers, and I started looking into it, and we made the purchase, but the it is a lifestyle. It's not just something that you can just buy and forget. There's you can have free heat, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, there are a lot of work in the amount of wood that you have to have on hand and produce. I think that's one big thing that people kind of overlook is you burn a lot of wood,
Yeah, a
and
lot of wood.
that is where the work comes in.
The big experience for me came at the end of my first year, because that was the most work with firewood I had ever done in my life, to get enough wood to get me through the winter. And I was thinking, wow, we just got through winter without a gas bill. But then I thought, oh my, I got to do this all over again. There
Yes.
was no rest from finding firewood. And it is, if you do it right, I think you should do it where you don't pay for your firewood. Your firewood should be for free. That makes your return on investment so much better.
Yep.
But yeah, I just couldn't believe, it's there is no escaping the outdoor wood furnace. It's a
No.
commitment. It is a commitment.
And then if you throw in, if you want to try to get ahead on your wood supply, so like for me, I'd like to try to stay 2 years ahead. So one winter you might burn more wood than you thought because it was colder, it lasted longer. So now again, you're behind the eight ball, and you're always
Mm-hmm.
trying to get ahead and have enough firewood for the next season and then the next season.
Yeah, I have I have never gotten through a winter with a surplus. Never. I remember what the Survivor Man, it was that show, the guy go out into the woods. He had a rule: whenever you think your wood pile is big enough, make it 5 times bigger.
Yes.
And I think that's true about the outdoor wood furnace. It doesn't matter how much wood you have, it is not enough.
Right.
You're always going to need more. But the acquisition of firewood for me, though, it was a hobby. If you don't find that enjoyable, the outdoor wood furnace is not for you.
No.
But firewood I called it the wood game, where I was passionate about finding firewood, and it had to be free. And whenever there was a storm, I would drive around looking for blowdowns. But what made hay was with these farmers out here. I have learned that these farmers hate trees. And they just bulldozed down fields of trees, to make farmland. And I just made friends with them, and they says, have at it. And I would just drive out there with my truck. I would bring home a load, and it was just a weekly thing for me.
Yep. Yeah, and if you a lot of people find enjoyment in that, and that's the big key. Where if you enjoy gathering and making firewood, then the wood broiler is almost for you because you need to do a lot of it. So
Yeah.
and having that source, like you said, either driving around. The one thing that I did is I contacted local tree service companies in my area, and over the course of the last few years, I kind of became pretty good friends with one guy and his company, and I kind of go and help him out. So he brings me all of my wood. And when you're burning in an outdoor wood boiler, the other nice thing is it doesn't matter what the wood is. You can burn maple, you can burn basswood, you can burn, elm, you can burn oak, whatever you want, throw it in there and burn it.
Yeah, total disregard for the species or anything.
Yep.
Even with splitting wood, it's nice to have it split, but if it fits through the door in my furnace, it's going in. Yeah.
Yep.
And I remember when I first got started too, because my firebox is like 3 feet deep. So I was thinking, well, heck, I could put in a real long log. So when I first started and I was younger and stronger, my logs were longer. And I noticed, by like February, my back hurts, my knee hurts, because you got to pick the log up, and with my furnace, I got to squat a little bit to stick the wood in. I noticed over the years, my logs kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And now I just cut standard length, 16-inch firewood for mine. And I usually have everything split, but not always.
Yeah. And that's one big debate that's out there, whether you need to split your wood or not. And I like to, so, I like to have seasoned wood that I know is going to burn good. Some people don't really care. I mean, that kind of just gets into personal preference. The reason I like it is because with my system, the blower on the boiler will kick on at a certain temperature level of the water. And so the more seasoned your wood is, I feel like you can recover your water temperature quicker. You're not smoldering with, wet wood or unseasoned wood. So that's just why I prefer seasoned wood split. And yes, because I don't like trying to throw in 100-pound piece of oak.
I think with an outdoor wood furnace, obviously the important thing is the firewood, but you still have to buy the furnace, and you still have to have it installed. If you can't do it yourself, there's a trench and there's plumbing and electrical work that has to be done. Probably a woodshed that's got to be built. But I think you have to pay attention to where you're going to get your firewood. I think, from just as a general statement, if you think that you're going to buy your firewood, I don't think that's the right way to go. And I think that would just totally take away all of the benefits of the outdoor wood furnace, which is no gas bill,
Right.
And that is huge. And, depending on what part of the country you live in, if you have a gas bill for, your heating months, but man, the quality of life is what drew me into year 2 and 3 when I was thinking, do I really want to keep doing this? Because this is a lot of work. But having a house as warm as you want.
Yes.
We have complete disregard to that thermostat dial on our wall. We keep our house as warm as we want. Our furnace also heats our domestic hot water, and we have the hottest shower in Northeast Ohio. And not having that gas bill is a big deal. It really is.
Yep.
And you know what it's like to think about, oh my God, here comes the gas bill when you take it out of the bail box and you don't get one. We haven't had a gas bill in 16 years.
Yep.
So the quality of life in dealing with a toasty, warm house and a hobby of firewooding,
Yes.
is the draw to me. But that's what I'm thinking. If you are seriously thinking about getting an outdoor wood furnace, I think your first question is where you're going to get your wood.
Yep.
Um, and I have learned it's easy to find free firewood. It is.
Yeah.
You just got to know. You got to know who to ask. You can't be bashful. And a lot of people, I see it all the time. People set wood cut up out at the mailbox. If they're giving away for free. So the first thing I think for anyone considering an outdoor wood furnace is your wood supply.
Supply, yes,
Yeah.
and whether you can maintain that supply for years to come, because that's where you end up getting back the money, that the savings is once 3, 4, 5 years down the road, then you start the boiler's paid off from what you may have saved over your gas bill, and then you can really reap the benefits of it. But that's where I think a lot of people fail to realize that, is that they just automatically think they're going to save a bunch of money, and then after the second year they're like, oh well, what did I get myself into?
Yeah. I think the other thing that you need to consider is, where do you live?
Yeah.
And who are your neighbors? And you may get along with your neighbor now, but will they be living there 10 years from now? And will your new neighbors moving in, find a outdoor wood boiler obnoxious? Because let's all admit, they smoke, and they smoke a lot, and the chimney is much lower to the ground than it would be for like a fireplace on a house.
Yep.
A 2-story house, your chimney could be 30 feet up in the air, where your outdoor wood boiler, usually the smokestack is pretty low to the ground. So who is your neighbors? And then there's a lot of work that goes around that outdoor wood furnace. If you are splitting wood and running a hydraulic splitter, it's noise. If you're running saws, it's noise. You're driving your trucks in and out, it's noise. So you got to be neighborly. I I know of a wood furnace up the road here that's in a residential area, and I just figure that this guy's got to be the most hated person in the neighborhood. Because you throw in a green piece of wood, and I mean, they just belch black smoke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have problems with your neighbors?
Nope. Well, not that they've ever told me, so I don't know. Yeah. But I don't. So we've kind of discussed some of the cons, but what are the pros? Like you mentioned, one big thing for me, the same thing, keeping the house at whatever temperature we want. Heating the domestic hot water, a huge savings as well. The other nice thing, like I mentioned, was having all of the wood outside. The mess is outdoors.
Yeah.
And sometimes I usually only have to go out there twice a day.
Yeah. So, same here.
Yep.
Yeah, same here. I think having your wood pile outside of your house is huge.
Yep.
My neighbor has a wood burner in his basement. So they have a trap door, they got to slide all the wood down. So in with it comes all the bugs. Those ants might be dormant in that log, but when they're in a nice toasty house, for a month, guess what?
Yeah.
All the dirt, all the fire risk, all the carbon monoxide risk, everything's out.
The bark,
it's not in your
debris,
house.
You got to clean it out of your basement.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's what's nice too, is you can just back your pickup truck right up to your woodshed if you have it all set up right.
Yep.
And just unload, and then it saves you a lot of wheelbarrowing and running up and down stairs.
So what do you do with your boiler if you are out of town for a week?
Well, that is our reality, is that we do not. Yeah. So that is a very good point. If you are the type that goes on skiing weekends and vacations in the wintertime, I don't think the outdoor wood furnace is for you, because it's a big tank of water, and that temperature has got to stay up, or it's going to freeze into a big ice cube and bust all your pipes. So we do not go on vacation. We have kids in school, and it's during the school year, so we've just never taken our vacations during the wintertime.
Yeah, you are kind of committed. Once the snow flies or once the temperatures drop, you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of committed to keeping that thing going all the time.
Or if you
It,
got very good neighbors.
yes.
Yeah. But
And
then your neighbor wouldn't know because, your fire can go out, some things happen.
yeah,
But if they're just checking your house twice a day, they might not know that it has gone out.
right.
You
And
know.
and they do have, like, my system, for example, does have where if my fire in the boiler goes out, and the temperature in the house drops below a certain level, my natural gas furnace will then kick on and backheat the water so it doesn't freeze. So there are
Oh wow.
workarounds to it, but you still don't really want that, because once that fire goes out and you have to bring all that water back up to temperature, you're going to
Right.
burn a lot of wood, and it's gonna it's it's just a
And I
pain.
don't and I don't think it's healthy for your furnace either because of the expansion and contraction
Yeah.
of all of your fittings, when they get cold and hot. I think if that happens over time, that can cause some joints to fatigue and start leaking,
Yeah. It's
which would be
definitely,
bad.
they're definitely made to, once you start them up, keep them going until you shut them down.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, what is your typical burn season? When do you usually start? When do you usually end?
Mine it just happened this way. It seems like mine is between Halloween and Easter. And um we we don't have we don't have the big propane tank for our house, but we do have one of these small auxiliary ones that's like for emergency backup.
Yep.
If we don't use any gas in that thing, then we get a tank rent, which is very annoying. So we use as much gas to pay for the tank rent. So, when you're getting into the fall, um, we don't fire it up until after Halloween where it's consistently cold. The challenge with these outdoor wood furnaces in the early fall, late spring, when the temperatures are really cold at night but warm during the afternoons, is they can overheat or because you're not drawing a lot of heat out of them,
Yep.
and they can also the fire can go out because
Yep.
they've sat there for so long.
And that's
Hmm.
where it kind of helps having, knowledge of, like, the types of wood that are good to burn when you need a lot of heat or when you don't need so much heat. So I generally always start mine the first week of October, and I burn
Hmm.
all the way through the end of May. So I have like 7 months, 8 months where I'm, burning, because I save on my electric, and my heating, my hot water bill. But
Hmm.
to your point about in the early and the late season, that's when I usually burn like softwoods. I'll even burn pine. I'm not burning oak because, to your point, you can overheat and, boil your water off if it gets too hot. So,
Hmm.
but it is definitely nice to, well, and I guess, like, the whole thing is, I don't want Eric to hear this and think that we're trying to talk him out of a boiler. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
we just have to point out the things that some people, I think, may overlook.
Hmm. Yeah, I think you have to have a plan. You have to consider the prevailing winds. You don't want to put it to where the winds are blowing in the wintertime directly onto your house or
Yep.
at your neighbors or wherever. Like the prevailing winds head out to the forest here where we live. So we're good with that. You want to have it, I think you want to be able to see your smokestack from your house from a window because the smokestack is always telling you how the furnace is doing. You know,
Yes.
you can tell if it's struggling, if you need to go stoke punch the logs, or if the fire's out, or if it's overheating. So you always want to have it to where you can see it. And then you want to have like a convenient driveway of some sort where your truck can get to it in all kinds of weather. In the spring or in the fall, if you have a load of wood that you need to put over there, you want to be able where you can get to it without getting stuck.
Yep.
Hmm. And you also got to consider where your lines are being routed into your house and to your, to how you're heating it, either with a forced air furnace in the basement, or if you have, radiant floor heat, or however that lines are coming into the house where your heat exchangers are, you need to consider that, because those lines that run underground, they're expensive. Holy cow, are they expensive? So you want to, maximize that distance
And
and have your furnace far enough away from your house so that you don't put, embers on your roof and light your house on fire.
or on your wood
Uh,
pile.
yeah,
I was just going to say, make sure you don't stack your wood too close to it, because embers will fall and
mm-hmm,
burn up
yeah,
all your wood in one night.
yeah. My furnace is about 50 feet from the house. How far is yours?
A little further, and I actually have mine inside of a shed.
Mm-hmm. But the longer distance, the more heat loss that you're going to have,
Yeah.
because I can see, when it snows outside, you can see the where the lines are, because they melt the snow on the ground. They're
Do
not.
you have your lines though wrapped inside of another?
Yeah, but I did it myself, because when we put
Uh,
this in like 2004 or 5, I can't remember now. The the those lines were like $11 a foot. And I was thinking, there is no way I'm spending that much money, for this stuff. So I made my own. And then I think now, looking back upon it, I should have just spent the money.
yeah, because the line that I have coming in, it hardly has any heat loss.
Oh, wow.
The two lines inside like another 10-inch or 8-inch tube that's
Hmm.
packed with insulation, like almost spray foam insulation,
Right.
and I think it's pretty efficient. I think it works pretty well.
Okay. And mine's 3 feet in the ground too. Is yours?
I think mine's actually about 4.5 to 5.
Wow.
Yeah, down.
Okay.
So Joe, if
Yes.
you were to do it all over again and you could start from a clean slate, would you have an outdoor wood boiler?
Long pause. The answer is absolutely yes. Would I have done some things differently? Absolutely yes. But I have considered my outdoor wood furnace a total success. Um, the one that I purchased, I'm completely happy with. It was at the time the most inexpensive furnace that I could find. I paid $5,000 for mine, and I installed it myself, Dad and I. I paid a neighbor a couple bucks to come dig a trench, for the lines, and I had it paid for in 2.5 winters, and it was paid
Nice,
for. Yeah, no
nice.
gas bill. That is the prize, in my opinion, is no
Yep.
gas bill. But the quality of life, you cannot deny that. To have a toasty, warm house with complete disregard from a gas bill, that
Yes.
is huge,
Huge.
huge. Yes. The shower, it's just a great, it's a
Yeah.
great lifestyle. It has also brought me, Ohio wood burner. It started a hobby for me that I was able to turn it into a side hustle, and then transition that into a semi successful business. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love the outdoor wood furnace. I drive around town. I notice them. I'll notice houses that have them. I'll rubberneck when I drive by, just to see how their setup is. I love the outdoor wood furnace. I will at times go outside and just sit on a log in my woodshed and look at it. I'm serious. I'll sit out there and watch it burn. I just love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. How
I
about you?
I would absolutely do it all over again as well. And all the things you mentioned, and I will also throw in the fact that when your wife is taking a 45-minute shower and it's the bathroom's full of steam, you're not sitting there saying, "Gosh, what is this going to run my electric bill up to?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
We
huge.
have we have an 80-gallon electric hot water tank in the basement. And it just seems silly. Like right now, I have 80 gallons of hot water in my basement that I don't need, you know?
Yep.
But in the wintertime, we throw the breaker switch on it, and it just comes right from our outdoor wood furnace.
Yep.
Yeah. And, there is a savings there too, for electric usage.
Yeah. My electric bill is almost cut in half.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah.
So Eric, hopefully some of these things we discussed, I'm sure we didn't touch on them all, but we could probably be here all day if we wanted to. And maybe this will lead to some more emails coming in and some more conversation around outdoor.
Yeah. I do know when I show my furnace on my YouTube channel, it gets a lot of interest.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of interest. One of my most viewed videos was my furnace.
And the interesting thing is that I believe there's a lot of changes coming to the newer outdoor wood furnaces and the type of wood that's best to burn in them and the efficiency of them and the emissions of them. So there's a lot that's,
They are I love them, but let's admit this, they are just very inefficient.
Oh, yes.
Very.
in the current state.
At nighttime, yes. I can see that flame shooting out of my stack. That's just heat going up into the atmosphere. They are very inefficient. If you are sensitive to, smoke, if you have asthma or, they can really, really smoke a lot, especially because you will get lazy and start burning green wood. You'll have a tree that you just cut down and it goes.
Yep.
and man, does it smoke. You'll really learn the difference of what, actual seasoned firewood burns like versus a green stick of wood.
And when it gets cold, you will use a lot of wood.
Oh my gosh.
I think one winter I was going like almost a face cord a week. So over a cord a month.
It's amazing. I will fill that furnace up at night before I go to bed. And then like the next morning, when I wake up, I go out there, it's empty. I was like, where did it all go? Where did it go? It's just amazing how much wood these things use.
Yes. Well, all right. I think it was a good conversation. Like I said, I think it will lead to possibly more in the future.
Sure.
And once again, if you out there are listening right now and you have a topic or a comment you'd like to send in to us, you can do that. Emailing us at the email address is thewoodhounds@gmail.com.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys. And, again, we are just blown away by the reception of this podcast. And we just want to thank everyone for checking in and downloading.
All right. So, yes, everyone, thanks for tuning in. And Joe, as always, it's been great hanging out with you once again for another great episodes of the Woodhounds.
Yeah, this has just been a lot of fun, Dan. And I want to thank everyone for downloading and your comments. And please send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
All right. So until next week, Joe.
All righty.
Everyone have
a good day.